Well, hey there, friendships. Welcome back to Curtis's Corner. If you're new here, hi, I'm Curtis. This is my corner. And on today's Movie Monday, we are going to be talking about none other than The Marvels. This is a sequel to not one, not two, not three, but 4 different things. It gets a little complicated, but if you're interested to hear my thoughts and my opinions on The Marvels, then keep on watching. So before I jump into things, be sure to like this video if you like movie reviews and Marvel. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you know when I post a video. Also, in the description box below, I do have a link to my Patreon. It is only $1. Your support helps me out to help give you the content you want to see. You get early access to all my videos, as well as helping to give suggestions on what content I am putting out on my channel for your viewing experience. So if you're interested, please click the link below, join my Patreon, and give some suggestions on the content that you want to see. But without further ado, let's jump into this review. So first things first, let's talk about the story of The Marvels. Now, this is a sequel to Captain Marvel. This is the second of her films. However, it is also still connecting to some Disney Plus features as well, such as WandaVision. So if you haven't seen WandaVision, you're not going to get certain aspects of The Marvels. If you haven't seen Ms. Marvel, which is another Disney Plus show, you're also not going to get a good hefty amount of what's happening. And if you haven't seen Secret Invasion, there's going to be not really too much that you're going to miss out on, but there is some that could be touched upon throughout the film as well. So those are the 4 projects that this film kind of follows, and that's a lot. You're basically required to do your homework in order to understand this film. That being said, the pacing is relatively quick. It does seem quite rushed. While it being a faster paced film, there is a lot of comedy and a lot of story that is being thrown at you. And sometimes within this film, it is a little bit of a detriment because they're bringing out plot points, they're bringing out side storylines that could have been great had they fleshed it out, had they explored that side, and they're choosing not to. They are just doing almost like a 1 to 2 sentence, this is what happened, and then moving on to the next thing. It almost seems like this is just a stepping stone in order to get to the next big thing, both in the film and the film itself as a whole. The storyline, for the most part, is pretty coherent. It does have a flow. There is a start, a middle, and an end. But with that being said, certain aspects could have been lingered on a lot more to give a better elevation to the film. It's not a terrible film, but there is a whole lot of room for growth to make it just that much better. As for the characters of the film, each and every single character gets their own spotlight and their own time to shine. Some more than others. However, for the most part, everyone has a good amount of screen time that they can flesh out their characters a little bit more. I find while being a Captain Marvel sequel, while yes, you have Brie Larson doing so much more than what she could have done in the original Captain Marvel movie, she still is kind of sidelined in this, even though she is supposed to be the main character, considering it's a sequel to her film first and foremost. Monica Rambeau as a character is fine in this, but there is a whole lot more backstory that you could have fleshed out. I know we got a good amount of backstory within WandaVision, but if you've never seen WandaVision, they have this one throwaway line of how she got her powers, and that's it. It's a 1 sentence, this is how I got it, done. That's not how a character should be treated. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, the highlight of the film. Absolutely the standout. I found while this being a Captain Marvel sequel, she was the star of this film. There were plenty of scenes, both her being a fangirl, her accepting what she's doing, her taking charge and making decisions that are tough is great. But along with that comes, again, rushed points of her character development, where one scene she's freaking out about something, and then a couple scenes later, she's doing it. There's no lead up to it. There's no acceptance. It's just done. We've already reached the acceptance. We haven't had that internal argument about right and wrong and what we should and should not do. So we just leapt over a bunch of footing just to get to the point. The main villain I found was underdeveloped. Not terribly, but still underdeveloped. The motives behind what the villain is doing are fine. They work in the sense of the world that they're going for, but because it's such high stakes, they boggle it down quite a bit, like what Thor Ragnarok did, with a lot of humor. Now, the only difference between those two is the humor actually, for the most part, landed in this one. Now, Nia DaCosta is not a super experienced director, but I do like the direction she does take in this film, and it's not bad. It's just she could have done more, and I think a lot of it does come from the writing aspect and of how rushed it is. So it seems she was able to do what she could, and the actors could do what they could with what they were given and what was kind of approved upon. The effects in this one, some could have been approved on, but for the most part, they were actually really well done. It has been a while since Marvel has actually had like really good effects. I think the last one that had really good effects was Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but otherwise, the effects have kind of been very hit or miss. Even in the movies that are a little bit done better, they're still having misfires of effects. This one, for the most part, was great. Yeah, you can tell when certain things are green screen, but it's not as egregious as that one Yelena Black Widow green screen scene. This is done to the best of the ability that you can get, and while yes, certain films have had much better CGI within just Marvel alone, but just in general, even 10-20 years ago, we've had some better CGI. This is still, it's okay. The choreography that they do, all the fighting scenes, absolutely outstanding. They were so well done. The power switching, where they're all kind of teleporting and switching places, there was an entire like training montage just to really try and like grapple and tackle down how to use that to their advantage. I loved it, but it was so quickly blown past that you never really got to see a proper struggle and acceptance and just how to fully utilize it. There was not really any wonder about what is happening and why it's happening, and it's just very quickly, okay, here must be the reason, here's how we can fix it, let's use this, done. Everything is just very quickly, here it is, let's finish it, move on. And that's what this whole film is basically doing the entirety of the time. As for the connections, I think small, minute connections to past projects could be fine. Connections to future projects can also be fine. But solely basing a film that is centered around all these past projects and fully leading up to a future project, that's a problem, because not only are you setting up for something that may or may not ever happen, Eternals, Shang-Chi, where have they been? But you're making viewers who have never seen anything before required to do all of this homework of the past 15 years just to be able to figure out the type of story you're trying to tell in these current Marvel films. It's not needed. We need to go back to the days before, leading up to the first Avengers film, where everything is its own standalone with small connections to other things that could potentially happen. And if they never happen, it's not going to be a big disappointment. Nice little Easter eggs here and there, that's great. But doing a full scene to lead up to something that might happen, and when it does happen, could also be equally as underwhelming, that's not going to fly with anyone, and your fans are going to leave, as they already are. Now, it seems like this review has been basically a lot of negativity. Like I said, visually, comedically, action-wise, it is a really good film. I think it is not as good as Captain Marvel. I found Captain Marvel was a little more, very much more character-driven, but I found it was a better film than what this one was. And I'm not going to reveal what they are, but there is one post-credit scene that actually did shock me. I was very surprised, and I almost don't want to get like too excited for it, because seeing what has been put out lately, I'm almost going in with some low expectations for what we are about to see, especially with what was presented in this scene. It wasn't the best that we could have done, but it is what we got. And all I'm going to say about the ending, again, I'm not going to spoil it, but it doesn't seem to flow with the rest of the film. I 100% agree with Chris from 3C Films. It does seem like it was meant for a mid or post-credit scene, and instead they just tacked it on to the end just to almost guarantee people to stay in their seats to be able to see it. So with all that being said, I'm going to give The Marvels a C+. It's nothing terrible. It's right in the middle. It's fine. If you are a die-hard Marvel fan and love everything that they've put out, go have some fun. Go watch it. If you're an occasional Marvel fan, I would say either skip it or see it tomorrow on your cheap nights, if your cheap night is a Tuesday. Otherwise, just wait for it. Don't even worry. I would say do go see it though, just so that way the people who put their hard work into making the film get the income and everything, especially now after the strike is now over. over. Finally, thank you. Now we can get back to our scheduled programming of fun movies coming out. But ultimately, obviously, the decision is yours. I'm just giving you my opinion. You can take or leave what I say and make your own choices. But hopefully you did enjoy this review. If you did, make sure you give it a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I put out weekly videos, and hit that notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video, because if you don't, how else are you gonna know when I post? You won't, so do it. I am now going to relax, veg out, maybe have a coffee, and I will see you on Thursday with a brand new makeup video, or on Wednesday for my Patreon viewers only. But until then, goodbye, friendships.